Howdy, and welcome to Voyagers Path, Season 2, Episode Ocho, the long-awaited episode.
Yeah.
I'm your host, Tony Drake. With me, I have Ahmed. Ahmed, name so nice, you have to say it twice.
That's right.
Yeah, that is right. We are part of the JPK Broadcasting Network. They have their own YouTube channel, website, Twitch, and other various platforms, I believe. You can find our podcast on said YouTube channel or our very own YouTube channel at Voyagers Path Podcast. Yeah, that's right. We also have a website called voyagerspath.us if you want to check that out too. Today, we're going to be doing a little bit of a recap over the previous episodes. Just we didn't get a chance to dig in too deep into all the previous episodes. We introduced a few concepts and just kind of left it and moved on to another one. So today we're going to be taking a look at a few highlights that Ahmed and I have come up with in regards to episode 1, 2, and 3, which actually it's season 1, episodes 1 and 2, and then
season 2.
Yeah, the new season started.
1, yeah.
Right. So for the first time watchers out there, just to give you a slight little taste as to what Voyagers Path is, obviously, it's a podcast that is geared towards helping teenagers and young adults bridge the gap between point A and point B. Point A being wherever you're at in life, may it be a high or low, and point B being a better, prosperous, more developed future. And we've learned through our own life, if you don't know much about myself or Ahmed, then I suggest you go watch episode 1. Or if you want know a little bit more about me,
family episodes.
Yes, season 2, episode 7 is a good peek into my life, and for Ahmed, it was like season 2, episode 4,
something like that.
But yep, that's that. So we're just gonna kind of get right into it. Oh, also, for the first time viewers, I have the habit of messing up words, verbiage, and other such things. So forgive me. It pains myself when I'm watching the video.
Pains me too.
Yeah, well, like I'm watching the video, I'm like, oh, I meant to say this word, and I'm like stuck on it for like 5 minutes. I'm like, F it. But we're just gonna start. Ahmed is actually going to take the reins on this one. We're gonna go over his highlights first. So please take it away, Penny.
Of course. So for the most part, I sort of just focused on the major highlights in the first episode. If you watched or if you didn't, this is just a recap in case you're interested. It was just mostly us just introducing ourselves. We had Kevin as the second co-host, and it was just us explaining what our lives was, what Tony's upcomings were, what my upcomings were, what Kevin's upcomings were. And we also had JP as a guest, who also then talked about his upcomings.
And JP is part of the JP Cast broadcasting.
Exactly.
Yeah. For those of you who don't know.
But yeah, most of that episode was just talking about ourselves, talking about the goal of the Voyagers Path, which Tony has mentioned earlier, which is to bridge the gap to, viewers that just need that help or go through a hard time right now. But for the most part, the biggest highlights that I wanted to talk about was just about what JP said. I don't know if you by any chance remember, but he talked about, I think I'm remembering this correctly, but there was 3 things that his mother always did. It was feed them, clothe them, and make sure they had an education. And we talked about that, and we talked about, okay, why is that so important? And it's important because they're leaving the house, starting the day fresh. They're starting it well. They don't have to worry about anything else and just focus on the rest of the day. So that was one of the biggest highlights that I wanted to talk about, and I just wanted to ask you, what do you think about that?
Well, I also have that as a highlight on my piece of paper that I have in front of me for easy recollection. Not a diss. Was that a diss? Was that a diss? Oh.
Just because I didn't write it down doesn't mean I didn't mention it.
Yeah, I put that down because his whole ordeal was that is what helped him become. Well, in his words, I forget exactly what he said, but it was what helped him
mold.
Well, approach things differently than most people, from what I remember. But yeah, it ease the psyche. If you're clean, that does something for you. If your belly's full, that does another thing for you.
Exactly.
And being mindful of being respectful. He said of the elders, but I think overall, if you're just respectful, that does it. Yeah. I thought those are pretty good. I put it down, but I didn't decide to dig too much into it because it's like a nice little basic.
I thought it was really important.
If you got nothing, well, yeah. For the highlights, you're right. Forgive me.
Yeah.
For the highlight, yeah, that's good. And to elaborate on it, it's like a very good foundational thing. If you got nothing, like if in my case, I didn't really have that for a while, so it did that. If I were to implement that, then yeah, I think good.
Yeah, but I thought that was just really important because you can apply that to pretty much anything. Like right before you go to school or go to work. If you don't have to worry about eating, then you'll focus on grades or focus on your actual, work or having a good relationship with other people. You have to get rid of all that stuff and try to handle it beforehand and not have to worry that later. But for the most part, the episode 1 was just us talking about ourselves, right? Just a brief. You were talking about your upcomings. I was talking about growing up poor. Kevin was talking about the family issues, and JP was talking about
his own family issues and
getting raised by a single mother, right?
Mm-hmm.
But do you have other highlights about episode 1?
We'll get to mine after yours.
You sure?
Possibly.
It doesn't mess with the flow of the...
You get yours.
You sure?
Yeah, just knock yours out.
Okay, awesome. Well, in that case, episode 2 was about... I'm mixing up episode 1 or episode 2 and season 1. It was either accountability or relationship.
It was accountability.
Accountability.
Right. It was introducing accountability.
Right. The biggest thing about episode 2, if you remember, was the difference between accountability and responsibility. And accountability responsibility is the things that you're in charge of, and accountability is you actually, holding yourself accountable for your responsibilities, for either you doing it or you not doing it. We talked about a lot of examples, and is there a checklist? Are you quizzing me?
Because no, you and I have. There's some overlap here.
I feel like I'm getting graded.
Which I I was like, this kind of looks like I'm grading him. Just to preface, Ahmed and I haven't. We talked about it. We talked about
doing it, but we didn't share notes or anything like that.
We discussed. We initially were going to share, but then talking to my dad, he was like, "Well,
it was better off.
It'll be more authentic if you don't." And I was like, "That's fair. That's fair." So we just had. I'm just checking the ones that you said that I also put down.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, in that case,
didn't mean to distract you with my.
I appreciate it.
Over here.
We gave a lot of examples, and I don't know if I'm quoting the example correctly, but that's sort of something like, as a captain or a boss, your responsibility is to look after your team or make sure everyone's doing okay. And if you mess up or if you don't do that, you are being accountable by apologizing, asking for forgiveness, making sure it doesn't happen again. And that's the main difference between responsibility and accountability.
Yeah. I'm good at that.
Yeah.
I'll allow it. Yeah.
But other than that, was just talking about multiple different actions. Kevin, we were just focusing on making sure that drove the point home. We talked about the difference between accountability and responsibility in work compared to school. For example, if you're in a group project, you're responsible for doing your stuff. But if you don't do your stuff, you have to be accountable and make it up somehow.
Yeah, when you get that 0, no one to blame but yourself.
And yeah. But before I move on to other stuff, do you have any other things to add about the...
Well, as far as what you said, no, nothing. You kind of just hit those on the head. Good for you.
But for the most part, episode 2 is just us trying to give examples about accountability and responsibility.
Yeah, for the most part, from what I remember, it was... Let's see. I'm not trying to... don't quote me. But yeah, we were talking about accountability and trying to explain what the difference, but trying to explain what it is to someone who really, because for me, accountability was not in my vocabulary. I mean, I'm sure it was. I'm sure I knew the word, but
you
as
didn't
far
understand
as
it.
Implementing it into my day-to-day life, not until I was 17, and that changed my life dramatically. So that's all I got to add to that.
Yeah,
for now.
But then in that case, I guess I'll go into the third episode. And the third episode, which we quote a lot It's probably one of the most important episodes. It's
Oh, yeah.
relationships.
Mm-hmm.
And we had the dartboard. You interrupted, but yeah.
Sorry.
But yeah, the dartboard. But we also mentioned time and time again T, which Tony should describe over and over just in case there's a first viewer seeing that one episode and not the dartboard.
The first viewer.
First time viewer.
First time viewer.
Yeah. T, time, energy, and attention.
Nice.
And you had a different dartboard, and I had
Yeah.
a similar dartboard, but for the most part, a dartboard is just it's a dartboard, but relationships.
What's the dartboard?
It's like the circle with the stripes,
It's
and
crazy.
it's like you throw darts at it,
Whoa.
and in the middle, that's where you win.
Okay. Thanks. I had no idea.
Of course, yeah,
Really appreciate it.
of course.
Standing out.
But knowing that, we're using that similarly to relationships. So in the middle is your closest relationships, and whether that's your family or your best friends or your brother or something like that, that should be more closer to the middle. And the outer, which in dartboard is the least points that you can get if you shoot it at the outer ring.
Oh, I didn't even make that correlation.
Yeah,
actually.
exactly.
Yeah, I didn't even
Yeah.
make that correlation.
In case, people haven't played dartboard.
Well, you don't call it dartboard. You don't play dartboard.
I don't know what the game is called. Darts?
Yeah.
Darts, yeah. But just like that, the relationships on the outer ring would be like relationships that aren't that impactful to you, like acquaintances or people you know of but don't have a good relationship with just because.
Do you have anyone on your, like, what's an example of someone on your own personal dartboard who's on the
Me
outer rings?
personally,
Yeah, outer rings. Outer rings or the second outer ring or whatever it's called.
people in the outer ring are just mostly like students in the class that I don't talk to, but
Okay,
I know that
peers.
exist. Peers.
Peers.
Yeah.
Do you have, coworkers.
Coworkers.
Um,
Coworkers are a little different just because I do talk to them. But
you don't talk to peers?
well, have you been to class before and there's like a student that you know exists, but you never talk to them?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like that. That would be the very edge. And
Okay,
nothing against them, but compared to like your brother or your father,
So then the ring above that is coworkers for you.
depends on the coworker.
Okay. We'll get into that one day.
But you see what's happening? We're trying to identify what relationships are in each ring. And, every dartboard isn't going to be the same, but this is something
They should definitely never be the same.
No.
They can be, I would say be identical for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And when
It
you
should be a dartboard
should
or like something like that.
no, you should have a cow. Sorry.
But yeah, they're not going to be the same. Not everyone has the same relationships or the same impacts
Right.
from their father, or because my father, he's very close to me, but others who, abandoned them or are abusive, that's a different story.
Right. Went out for some cigs, never came back.
Went out for some milk and played hide and seek and never found him. Anyway,
Boo.
but that's what we were talking about. We suggested you making your own dartboard to look at the relationships you have and to evaluate them. Because even though you are very close to some friends, they're not exactly the best influences. And you
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
made the
I
hand
did-
gesture.
Yeah, I made the hand gesture. I was about to say something, but I was like, nah, it's interrupting. Please go for
which
it.
you're doing right
Well,
now.
now you know I want something. Now you know I'm going to say something soon. But
Or are you
please
going to
finish.
say it, or are you going to
No,
wait?
I'm gonna be nice.
Okay.
This time, please finish.
Awesome.
I'm trying to be better. Trying to be a better host.
Awesome.
I'm just trying to do the best thing for me.
Would you like to say something, Tony?
No, I'll wait. That's fine. It's
Cool.
good. But just remember, I'm trying to be good about it. So, floor's yours.
I'm so glad. But for the whole point of like impactful relationships, you got to make sure they're also positive impacts. Make sure they're good influence on yourself, because you can have a friend that's super close to you, but all he does is, smoke weed. He tells you constantly, hey, let's dip out of school to have fun. And, he'd probably be there for you sometimes. But if he's going to do stuff that's negatively going to impact you, ruin your education, ruin your career, you have to just give him an ultimatum, tell him to change, or you have to let go of him.
There's something to say about ultimatums. I'm not sure. Ultimatum leaves a bad taste in my mouth.
I mean, that's what it is, though. You're giving an ultimate decision. Okay, you either do this, or I have no choice but to do that. Are you gonna add something, or is
Well,
this
I'm digesting it.
okay?
Like,
Well, why you
so
digest?
like with Chase,
Okay.
for those of you who don't know, Chase was my bestie till the restie. We met in 8th grade. Well, he was. He didn't die or anything. He just, stopped being his friend. So
Mhm.
he was 8th grade. We started being friends. He lived close by, hung out a lot. And then 9th grade. And as the grades went on, we started smoking more pot. And
Mhm.
our friendship kind of was based in that at that point.
Right.
And for the most part, our other friends what do you call those? Common friends? Is there a
Mutual friends.
mutual? There you go. Our other mutual friends were just, people that would smoke with us as well.
Right.
So at the bottom of it all, there was nothing. There was no foundation. It was just that we also,
Pot.
right. So, I never gave Chase I was like, hey man, if you don't change your ways, we're done.
Mhm.
And I just can't. I mean, I'm sure there's an appropriate way to do that. I'm sure if you were to like, hey Chase, this is the change in direction I'm going, and I can't be doing X, Y, and Z anymore. I gave my word to my dad. I'm not doing X, Y, and Z. I've promised myself I'm not doing X, Y, and Z.
Mhm.
So don't invite me to do X, Y, Z. Don't expect me to be doing X, Y, and Z. I hope you can accept that. And if you can't, I personally wouldn't say if you can't, then we're not friends. I hope you can accept that. I didn't do that. What I just did was stopped all communication
Mhm.
immediately because I didn't see. I'm sure that we could have kindled something. I'm sure, but
Mhm.
where we were both at, I don't think. I think he would have been like, "Yeah, man, I understand. I gotcha for sure." But nothing would have come of it. Our friendship would not have developed any further
Right.
than that. I mean, he would have been like you said before. Like when you gave the example, or when you said that the person might be there for you, that negative friend, or that the poor friend, or whatever, the friend, the quote unquote friend, because a real friend, you don't think negatively of them.
Mhm.
But this person who's in your dartboard, they more negative than positive. But you said that they might be there for you on occasion. He was that kind of person, but I think when trying to think of another word to say, then
Take your time.
X hits the fan. What's the when things get bad?
Never mind. I don't know what you're talking about.
You never heard of the SHIT
When
hits the fan?
Yes, I've heard of that. I didn't
So-
hear eggs in the fan though.
Well, I said X as in you can put anything.
Oh, I
in
thought you meant
X.
eggs. Crazy.
Eggs in the fan.
That's what I heard.
All right.
You're not exactly the best with metaphors.
Or communication.
But anyway.
Or pronunciation.
Yeah.
Or, anyway, yeah, I got that. I said my piece.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
But every situation is different. But if
Mhm.
you are trying to grow as a person, you have to make sure you associate yourself with people who are willing to help you grow or, grow themselves. And if they can't do that, then you're just going to either have to, like what you said, say, hey, I want to make these decisions and I hope you can accept that. You don't have to straight up say, oh, I'm not going to be your friend, but you can't hang out with them as often.
I learned there was a natural order to it. Like people have a tendency not to interact with you when you're. I like to think of it as, if you take into account like a frequency. So if I'm putting out like I don't know the hertz, I don't know, like a high frequency, anything lower than that, really you can't. It's not going to resonate. It's not going to.
Right.
Lower frequencies aren't really going to sound good or want to be around a higher frequency.
Okay.
So if you're doing things and thinking things, and let's just say it's a higher frequency, the lower frequency stuff just kind of dissipates and doesn't interact. So in this case with people, especially people, if you are doing your own thing and it's a positive thing and you're moving in a good direction, got a lot of momentum, got a lot of discipline,
right,
backing you, those other friends that you've just stopped talking to will most likely not talk to you. Yeah, that's all.
Okay.
Stop there.
But yeah, one other thing that we were talking about dartboards is people move in the dartboard constantly. A person that was in the outer ring can move to the center ring, and a person that was in the center ring can easily, well, maybe not easily, but they can move out as well.
I wouldn't say constant. Like constantly is like
depends on the situation too.
Well, I would say like whenever it depends on the time of their life.
Right.
Like if they're in a point where there's a lot of change, like a Like for me, for instance, during that time period where I was making a lot of changes, then yes, people were constantly being moved around as I was
But
deciding.
it does change.
Yeah, but constantly, like
Maybe not constantly.
like there is a time period, like for the next week, people will be
your mother's not gonna always go from
back and
out.
forth.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, that's
They
not
just
what
have,
I meant.
they
But
have the ability to.
people move around a
Yeah,
lot.
you have the freedom to move them around
Mhm.
for sure.
And it definitely depends on the person too, because being in the dartboard, you need to know, okay, well, I've met this guy in work and he was in the outer ring with the coworkers, but we started to know each other and I like him a lot.
Looked
And
into his eyes, touched his hand, maybe take him out to dinner.
okay,
Sound familiar?
no,
Okay.
but in that scenario, you're becoming more close with him, so you can move him up the dartboard.
Mm-hmm.
So the main purpose is just to, make you check your relationship, see, okay, well, this is all the relationships going on. What do I need to focus on more? Because that's where the T comes in. Because you cannot give the same time, energy, and attention that you have to people most important to you to people not as important to you. If your mother's car breaks down, you have to, if your relationship with her is good, you have to go there because that's someone you're close to. She's in the center. If a student or peer that you don't talk to at all hits you up and says, hey, my car broke down, can you drive 2 hours? No, I don't know you.
How'd you get this number?
Yeah, like I didn't give you my number.
Yeah. One thing I wanted to add is get to know somebody before you
Exactly.
move them up.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to think of, if you are talking to somebody and like we'll take this lavishly handsome coworker that you mentioned before, which I understand, no judgment there. But if you take him into account and you guys start talking and, maybe for work you take people out for lunch and stuff. So you also get to sit down during that process, everyone starts talking about their personal life and you get to know them after enough times. And then he invites you over to his house or, to hang out someplace other than work-related business. And you start doing that, and then you find out he's like a skinhead.
A method, a Nazi.
Yeah, and not the good skinhead.
Mhm.
Then you're just like,
no
"All right,
thanks.
no thanks.
This isn't good for me.
Stay in at work."
Yeah.
And that's
That's pretty much everything I wanted to talk about episode 3.
amazing. All right, cool.
Would you like to go over your notes now?
Yeah. Which I think that was good. That was what we did for the right there. Good little interaction.
Sure.
Because we already hit on a couple of my notes.
Very glad to hear that.
TBH. Okay, so for the first episode,
Mhm.
bouncing off of what you had said with the clean clothes, belly fed, respect the elders, those were his 3 things that his mother instilled in him as a kid.
It's the energy drinks.
Excuse me. It's the carbonation, as it does naturally. That did catch my eye, or you can't catch
my
ears.
ear.
Does it do catch ears?
It's a metaphor.
Are you sure?
You can't catch something with your eyes. You catch with your hands.
Well,
It's a
it
metaphor.
was like a caught my eye. You never heard caught my eye?
yes, a metaphor.
Okay, anyway.
So you
I'm
can
done.
do the same.
I'm done. You can't. Maybe you're right.
You cannot grab something and catch it with your eyes. Do I have to explain what a metaphor
No,
is to you?
you don't have-
Please go on about your notes.
so the first one I put down after talking with my dad,
Mhm.
I had like a number 1, but he was like, this one's probably your most important one. And JP said something that we are the David Copperfields,
He did say that.
pulling back the curtains.
And can you explain who David Copperfield is?
He's a magician.
Cool.
Yeah, he's I don't know. I haven't watched any of his
So
stuff.
why did he say we are the David Copperfields?
Because we're pulling back the curtain. I guess he has a tendency of pulling back the curtain and showing how tricks are done. Maybe. I probably should have looked that up. My apologies, people. But the big thing is he said, I don't care about the name. It could be anyone.
Right.
But pulling back the curtain is the important part.
Mm-hmm.
And that is what, just a reiteration of what this podcast is. It's your life experience, my life experience, our guests' life experience, taking things in from my friends, your friends who are our age.
And apply that to the viewers.
People who have been our age and
Mhm.
apply that to the viewers for sure. So that is definitely, if you haven't watched, this is probably like a good intro bit. Like if you haven't watched the show, this is what we're about. This is where we're going. This is the
Episode
direction
1.
we're heading. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The next one, he had said repaying selflessness, and he was talking about his he calls him his dad, much like I call Calvin my dad, but I don't think they're biologically
Father
related.
figure.
Yeah, his father figure. And during that time, I think there's medical conditions going on, and he's just taking care of him now because he was taken care of by that man so well. So he's just repaying that back. And that in part ties into another point where he left the audience with a message saying charity, give charity, and receive charity, both in heart and soul. And that is exactly what he's doing. That is an aspect of charity where he's giving his time, energy, and attention, which is the most valuable resource a human has, because that's stuff you don't get back, right?
Right.
So the time, energy, and attention he is giving and devoting to that father figure who's changed his life is an act of charity. And for an example, recently Ahmed and another friend of mine, Justin, who will be on here eventually.
Oh, that's nice.
He's going to sit on for that panel.
Nice.
Yeah. Justin and Ahmed came over to put mulch throughout our backyard.
You can explain what mulch is? Because I didn't know what it was.
Okay, that's fair. I won't rag you for it then. Our backyard, it's a rent house, so our backyard is just dirt, plain dirt. We got like 5 big trees, nice coverage and stuff, but a lot of leaves, a lot of dirt, and we have 3 dogs. So there is whatever grass there was is no longer there because running around, rolling around, gone. So when it rains, which it's for some damn reason it decided to rain the most this year, like day after day after day, then some dry, then day after day. That's why it's so humid in here.
Texas weather.
Yeah, but it's never been this bad with the rain.
Oh, it's been crazy.
Yeah, it's been stupid. So the rain was a big issue, and we would get mud everywhere, and it was just a hassle.
From the dogs.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So one of our previous landlord, which is now a good buddy of my dad and a client of his and good guy overall, gave us mulch. He's got a business where he can cut down trees essentially. So he's got a lot of access to basically
Trees,
wood chips,
grass.
which mulch in this case, this was like just wood chips, and luckily it was like apple wood, or at least there was an apple tree in there because whenever he dumped the mound in our backyard, and Ahmed and Justin came over, and myself, my dad, and those two, we took it from the driveway and distributed it.
Distributed it.
That doesn't sound.
That's how you say it.
It was distributed along our backyard. And they helped out. That's an act of charity right there.
Yeah, that's
And
T.
Yeah.
Since Tony is, to me, the center of my
World?
dartboard, I am willing to give my time, attention, and energy, even though I can't get that back because he's special to me.
Oh.
Don't take it too
Oh my
personally.
gosh, I'm blushing.
Oh, here we go.
He also had said, this ties into when you mentioned pulling back the curtain. He
Right.
said that we're trying to show others to think from a different perspective. Mainly, well, at least in our podcast, it's thinking from our perspective, our being teens and young adults. And our perspective, or I guess changing your perspective to think like a teen or young adult will help with the interaction, especially if you're a counselor, especially if you're a parent or what have you. I'm sure everyone has that, for the most part, innate ability to think like someone else. Is innate like kind of you're born at that, or is it like you're really good at doing it?
Natural.
Okay. Because some people suck at doing it, and then some people are really good. But it's not impossible to put yourself in someone else's shoes, but in order to think like them is another thing entirely. And that's what we're trying to accomplish.
Is that
here.
empathy or apathy?
Heck if I know.
Okay.
Don't ask me. Ask Google.
Anyway.
Also,
Mm-hmm.
JP got spankings.
You did?
He did. And that's just a little quip to you saying I got abused as a child, which I did. Well, I don't want to say that.
I thought you said I got abused. I'm like, I don't
No.
remember that.
No, I said something about getting spankings, and you're like, you don't remember?
No.
Wow, this is awkward. Okay. Well, anyway, the last bit is the difference makers. He would call people difference makers who changed his life. For example, his coaches. Coach Pardo, that's our coach.
That's our coach.
That's our coach.
Oh,
Okay. Some coach.
Yeah.
Who changed his life, and many other teachers who changed his life. They did
Right.
They took one action and changed his life for the better.
They gave their time, energy, intention to
They
their
certainly
students, and he grew from it.
Yeah. He also warned of the potential to derail your life with just one decision.
Right.
And you just have to recognize that there's that balance there. You're taking one step this way or one step that way, but it is your step forward that's going to take you left to right, up, down, black, white, whatever you want to, whatever other
Saying.
dynamics. Well, I was going to say dynamics.
But
But
I need
also,
to like do a counter every time you
every time,
lost,
like,
you lose your train of thought.
well, no, it's not losing my train of thought. It's
Or you
it's
taking the time
thinking.
to think what
I'm
the
sorry
correct
that I'm
thing is.
trying to think. So whenever we have 30 million people watching, it's like oh, this guy's an idiot because he doesn't know how to say things.
That's another.
That's another right there.
Yeah.
But also keep in mind that if you've derailed your life, it just takes the one.
One action. Yeah.
Yep.
It's like drunk driving, you know.
Well, no, you kill someone drunk driving, you really can't.
You're screwed, yeah.
Nothing you can do about that one. That's a bad example.
That's one decision ruins your life.
Well, I was saying, but there's yes, but if let's just say you got caught doing drugs or taking steroids, and now your college scholarship is gone. You know, one decision derailed your life, but also you can you can make another decision to get going in the right direction again and start building that momentum again. It's not the end of the world. There's never the only time. There's a really good saying that I have to think about. It's like the war is only over.
I didn't hear no bell.
I didn't hear no bell. It's like the war is only over when the general.
That's another.
Oh, I'll put it in the description. It's really good. I put it in the description.
Put a hold on that.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but it'll be in the description. It's really good.
You mind passing that? Oh, you need it.
I
'cause
do
You
need
can't
it.
remember stuff unless you write it down. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
There's that return. The second one, yes, about accountability. And
Right.
you did it you gave the initial opening to that show, explaining accountability
And responsibility.
right. And in your own words, you said, take accountability of your responsibility. Beautiful, gorgeous, loved it, love it, love it. And that was the most important one, I think. But other than that, taking accountability, as I mentioned before, it did change my life, and I started taking accountability at the age of 17 for my actions. And a good example of that was we talked about it in our last episode, where I was someplace where I shouldn't have been.
Sneaking out.
Yeah, and lying to Calvin, saying I'm home, and then Calvin and my Nana talking, which I lived with my Nana. And they were talking over the phone the morning after I had left, and I was still gone. And my Nana was like, oh, yeah, Tony hasn't been home in X amount of hours. And so he'd found out, and then when I got home, I found out that he now knew. And so I waited in the driveway for a few hours, waiting for him to come home, or, not come to my house, because I was living at my Nana's. He was living at another place. But he said he was going to come in and check on me. So I was sitting outside waiting for him until dusk. That's the night one, right? Dusk is the night.
Like where it's becoming
Dawn
dark?
is morning. Dawn is morning.
Yeah.
Yeah, dusk is night.
It's becoming night.
Yeah. And so he pulled up, and I was like, hey, I lied. Sorry to do that to you. And that right there was one of the initial steps of one of the initial encounters that we had about
Accountability.
with me taking accountability and learning the power it had, because he was like, well, now I trust you, because it was a whole thing. We had a whole discussion about trust right afterwards.
Right.
But yeah, that type of action is all you need to start
Becoming
moving.
more accountable.
Yeah, and moving in the right direction, maintaining the Voyagers' path. Also, I wanted to say that in there, I think I said this, but I have it down here. My Planet 16 is different than my Planet 20.
What?
My plan at 16 years old is different than my plan at 20 years
Oh,
old.
I thought you said my planet 16, and I'm like, what on earth?
Well, it wasn't Earth, it was Planet 16.
Go on.
That's mainly because at 16, I just wanted to get a hot chick, get an apartment,
Get laid.
getting laid, but get booze and pot and just, boom, that was
Yeah.
it. Settle. But now it's not that at all. Completely different. I want to make movies, want to make music. I'm making a podcast and all that
Yeah.
jazz. So different direction because of the accountability I'm taking.
Mm.
There's another part in accountability with accidents, saying that there were no accidents. I didn't do it justice when I was watching it again. I realized I didn't do
I don't know
as
what
well
you're
as
talking about.
I know, obviously, because I didn't do it justice. But I posed a question about believing in accidents or not, and I forget what your all's answer. But you said something like, well, yeah, you can't control everything like the weather. And I was like, yeah, you're right. But
Well, what
so
if you could?
there's a good, so I've listened to Jocko podcast for quite some time now, and I am a true believer of drinking the Kool-Aid, wanted to say. Anyway, you don't know drinking the Kool-Aid? Haven't heard about that?
Is this a metaphor for drugs?
You're looking at me weird. Well, boys and girls.
Like riding the purple dragon
There
or
was a
something
cult.
like that?
There was a cult.
Oh, the suicide Kool-Aid.
Drink the Kool-Aid. That might be different, actually. I might be wrong.
What are you talking about?
You make me second guess myself, Ahmed, in front of all these people. But yeah, drinking the
You
Kool-Aid.
do that yourself.
I think drinking the Kool-Aid is referring to the cult that drank the juice and died.
killed themselves.
Maybe I could be wrong. I don't think I'm wrong, but
Punch.
with you I never know. So anyway, the thing with Jocko is if you haven't listened to him, please do. There's no bad place to start, but I started from 1 and I've worked all the way up. I'm still like he's got upwards of 280 episodes. I'm like 190 or something.
Man, you've been grinding.
They're like at least 2 hours long. Anyway, good stuff. You learn a lot. That's how I learned a lot of things. And sad to say, most of it, my dad had tried to talk to me about and teach me. But for some reason, when he starts telling me about stuff, I have to hear it from another source in order to understand it.
Maybe you just needed multiple people
Yeah,
to
different.
tell you.
Yeah, a different facet, like getting it from a different perspective. But every time I'm like, "Hey, I heard this from Jocko. I heard this from Jordan Peterson," or blah blah blah. He's like, "Yeah, I just told you about that, you idiot." Damn
I
it.
don't think he said idiot.
He didn't say idiot. I did. But the point is, I was listening to the podcast,
Right.
and he's got a business consulting company, and the weather came up. Taking accountability, because this whole thing is extreme ownership. Ownership is another word for accountability in this case. So it was like, so how do you take accountability for when the weather goes down? You have a plan B for when it's raining, and it's your fault for not having a plan B. And you got rained on, and your plan A, which didn't account for the rain, got destroyed. So now that's why you have a plan B. So you take accountability for not having a plan B, and you make a plan B for next time.
I can see that.
Boom! I was like, oh my God, yes.
But at the same time,
Don't
what?
go for it, please. Embarrass yourself, Ahmed, please.
If you want to be productive today and be like, oh, I'm going to go exercise outside and jog around and the weather's there.
You jog in the rain. Be an adult.
Or you have the plan B, like you said, and do it at home and
sure.
be responsible and accountable.
Sure.
But if there's a storm that turns off the power, that's
Okay.
out of your control. Is it not?
You should have had a power generator. I can go all day with this, baby.
Oh my God.
Should have had a power generator.
And what if that power generator fails?
Should have
had another one.
You should have had water and canned goods and candles and a flashlight and all the other stuff that doesn't need electricity, baby. Books and a candle's all you need. You don't need to eat for days. You just need
cannot
water.
plan for everything. That's what psychopaths
No,
do.
you can definitely plan for everything.
You can
Ahmed.
have a nuclear bed or a nuclear basement in case your city gets bombed. No.
Yes, you can.
But you can't afford that, can you?
You can start digging.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I can go all day. I'm hyped up. All right. So that's the point, is that accidents. And in part with accidents, when you start thinking about accidents happening,
Right.
you start thinking like a victim, because accidents life happens to you if you're a victim, right? You don't have any control over anything. Accountability reinforces the state of control that you have, and it's just like, okay, I have this control, I'm just not utilizing it,
Right.
and I suck. So let me get this control, let me get this down so I can start not sucking. And that's kind of the whole thing with accidents, is I believe there are accidents for sure. I don't believe, no, what's the, I misspoke. Master Oogway, there are no accidents, right? Is it Oogway?
It was.
Yeah, baby. So yeah, I don't believe there are, same thing with coincidences, on par with accidents. I don't necessarily believe in them. I think the word is real. I believe in the word. It's an actual word. But I don't necessarily think that, oh, it was just a coincidence that this happened. No, it's because you're an idiot and this happened.
I agree to some extent, but there's extremes, man. There
are always exceptions and extremes. Yes, that's fair.
But yeah, like you said, the whole victim mentality.
Right.
That's the whole thing about accountability, all right?
Yeah.
If you want to blame others for your failures, that can explain it. Like, oh, my God, that was rude.
Please continue, please. I'm just having a cold one with myself.
If you want to say, oh, my family grew up poor, so I couldn't afford a lot of things like the best schools and stuff, and then you ended up failing all your classes, that can explain why, you're doing bad, but you're not being accountable for that. That's the victim mentality. You can still do good and still study and take the time out of your head.
Still do well. That's it.
You had to take one win, huh? You felt so self-conscious about misspeaking and not knowing.
No, I'm just taking accountability for the standards of my podcast, Ahmed.
Okay.
Thank you.
Like I was saying, I've lost my chain of thought. You've ruined it.
Join the club.
No, because you distracted me.
All right,
anyway,
moving on to the next
it's
one.
the whole point about the whole victim mentality. You have to take accountability.
Yeah.
And even though there are outside forces messing with that, you have to push forward.
Be preemptive about it.
What on earth are you?
Well, if there are outside forces working against you, pardon me, if there are outside forces working against you, you should know what they are and be prepared for them.
Or you can adapt if it's suddenly
right. Either one. Tomato.
It's not
what
the
is that?
same.
What, 6/12 and one.
It's not the same.
Half the other.
Anyway, do you have any other points?
Yeah. That episode, I kept saying tenderly, and I was trying to find a better word for it.
Tenderly?
Yeah, tenderly introduce accountability, but I got a better one. Gradually introduce. That's what I was looking for.
That is a lot better.
Much better. Much better. Makes me more comfortable than tenderly.
You needed a whole year to think of a better word.
And if we have time, we can come back and talk about this one, but I'd rather get to the other ones. It's not super important, but I'll bring it up later.
Mm-hmm.
So third episode, remove the dartboard.
The dartboard.
The dartboard.
The dartboard.
The dartboard.
Mm-hmm.
The dartboard.
Board with the darts.
Remove yourself from bad seeds to see immediate change in your life, and to define that bad seeds are just bad people.
Rotten apples. That's the...
Sure, if you want to be like that, yeah, go for it.
That's the more...
So if you, like what we talked about with Chase and the others, I just dropped contact. I removed myself from that friend circle group thing, and immediately saw change in my actions, my thoughts, my habits, yada yada. So that is if you think that your life kind of sucks, look at who's in it and see if you need to remove them from your life. So the next one, I kind of said, I just think this is a nice point to put out there, is that relationships are established via a common goal. Like peers, common goal is getting through school. Work, common goal is doing well.
Like
at your
initially,
job. Yeah, that's
initial common goals.
Right.
And then it grows from there.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think that's a good kind of starting part when you're looking at your own dartboard, what you need to go home and do. Which, Ahmed, have you made a dartboard?
Last time when we did the episode,
Did I
yes.
see it? Was it good? Did you like it? Did you have any?
We discussed this.
I forget. Cause yeah, you know, never mind. I'll put that one.
Where's your dartboard? Is it on the screen? Uh-huh.
The whole thing with relationships and getting to know somebody, starting out through common goal, and moving them up or down. Well, I think we've hit on it enough. I don't need to keep hammering it, do I?
You can't just bring it up and drop it. What did we talk about?
Well,
this is the whole review thing. We're talking about the old episodes.
Okay. The big thing with the dartboard,
Right.
and if we start out from the outer rings and working all the way to the inner ring, the relationship should be founded upon a common goal, and then through time, through constant encounters, through devoting time, energy, and attention, and they just either happen to be involved to some degree. Through that and through those countless encounters, you kind of gather data on them, get your opinions, get your facts, and like, okay, this person is a skinhead. No, thank you. This person isn't a skinhead. Okay, cool.
Let's add some more time to that.
Let's see. We'll see where that goes.
So far,
But
so good.
You don't automatically just like, okay. Oh, that was loud, wasn't it? I'm sorry. You don't just automatically go, okay, come into my house. Well, me personally, no one comes into my house unless.
I mean, it's the whole thing.
know
Like you don't tell your like darkest secrets to someone you just met. No.
Well, you can't. There's a beauty to that actually, because you'll most likely never see them again. There's some I've found talking to strangers.
That is the best way to get rid of them. I'll be honest.
I found I was like getting stoned in California, walking around the apartment complex, just talking to strangers, and then like out of nowhere, it's like, oh yeah, XYZ happened, and it was the most devastating thing in my life. I was like, wow, XYZ happened to me. It was very devastating.
You think
Have a
maybe
nice day.
drugs would impact?
Yeah, we probably opened you up a lot to it, but even without it, I've had conversations like that. But you know,
for the most part,
I digress, as often as I do. But yeah, you don't. It is a gradual progression from ring to ring to ring, and I would say there are requirements. No, requirements sounds tough. Sounds too mean. You just have to. No, I can't think of another word than requirements. Another tick marker. You need to have like those one are like the things you push, like that count people.
I just need a paper and like mark it every time.
Every time I mess up a word or something. But yeah, that's kind of it with the dartboard. I think if you go back and watch, I've been tossing the idea back and forth about having getting a camera and making YouTube videos that they'll be a little lower quality, just because it's not this studio quality. Maybe, I don't know, probably not. It'll be great quality. Any hoodles, having those videos and kind of like making them
reacting,
not reacting, almost like tutorials on how to do the things we've talked about doing.
Okay.
Maybe even starting a blog about it, but you know, that's in the works.
Mm-hmm.
All hearsay. But that is that for the dartboard. I did want to say this, because in talking, when I was getting used to the idea of the dartboard, I had mentioned about a couple friends that I had, which was the married couple that I knew from like kindergarten or middle school. Not sure if you remember them.
Nope.
Okay, well, if you watched the episode, I did bring it up. And I was like, okay, I don't like where they're going or what they're doing. I'm going to give them less of my tea. And eventually I haven't talked to them in quite some time, and I don't plan on talking to them. But whenever I was talking to Justin about that idea, telling him, we were on the phone, I was like, yeah, because we just hung out with the husband, the guy. And I was like, yeah, you know, he's kind of not doing anything with his life. He doesn't want to go anywhere. He's not the kind of guy I want to spend more than an hour with, you know, if I have to. He's like, I said, you know, if you hang out with him, if I'm hanging out with you and then he wants to hang out with you at the same time, I mean, I'm not going to, I wouldn't say put up with it, but, you know, I don't mind. I just, you know, but I'm not going to outwardly go and hang out with him or anything. And I told him that, and he wanted me to explain, and I started to explain the dartboard. I was like, yeah, he was at this higher ring, but because of there was a long period of time that we weren't talking. That man and I'll say Professor X. No, Smith. Smith is the common thing.
John Doe.
John Doe. I was just about to say that. Too. Damn it. That John Doe over there. There's a long time we weren't talking, and then he came back. He's like, "Hey guys, I'm so sorry. This is going on. This is going on. This is going on. Forgive me. Let's hang out." And so we started hanging out. It was fun times. It was good. It was all dandy. And then after hanging out enough with him, I was like, okay, well, this John Doe just wants to stay John Doe and do nothing. And it's not really. And then he was doing a lot of dumb stuff as well. Like as far as basic human interaction, it just wasn't anything I cared to be around. And I was telling that to Justin. I was like, yeah, I thought he was. I broke the rule. I didn't get to know him before I put him on the dartboard. I just put him right on like the third ring. And because of that, I had to move him
Down.
And since I had him on the third ring, I was like, yeah, I'll hang out with you. Yeah, I'll do it again. Yeah, let's do it again. No problem.
You put too much time, energy, and attention into something you didn't know too much about.
Yeah, exactly. And so I explained that to Justin, that I had to bring him down to the outer levels because I'm not going to be spending that time. And Justin was like, well, I could tell it felt like he was concerned about where he was at. And like he had to constantly be looking over his shoulder as to where I'm putting him in my friend group. And that happened another time too with another individual. And they just felt like, it was my fault.
You don't explain things that well either.
Oh my God.
I'm just
Go
saying.
for the jugular. Jesus Christ.
Like for all I know, you basically told them, yeah, bro, sorry, you're auditioning to be my friend. For all I know, you're out. Next month, you're fired.
I probably said something like that, man. I'm not going to lie. But hopefully, it's been some time, so I feel that I've been able to explain it just a little better.
Or maybe Calvin can.
Yes, he can. But where was I going with that?
I don't know. It was your story.
Oh yeah. So yeah, don't be careful as to who you tell about it, and or how you talk about it. Don't say you're auditioning to be my friend, and you'll always be auditioning no matter what you do, and I'll always be watching.
This is something personal for you.
Right. And, if you explain it to someone, it's because you think they would benefit from it, or you've thought long enough to explain it without sounding like an asshole. Because the purpose isn't to judge or use it. The purpose isn't to judge. It's to use it to determine who should be in your life and who you want to keep at a distance.
And how much time, energy, and attention you should give to someone.
Exactly. The next one is I have here, just says play the game. Don't look at me like that. It's another, that's a pretty common term.
Play the game?
Play the game.
Explain it.
Okay. Oh gosh, I didn't do the thing I said I would do with my dad. Damn it.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, well, there's a show. Band of Brothers. There's an HBO show, Band of Brothers. I believe you can watch it on, no, I think you can only watch it on HBO. Any hoodles, you can stream it. Worth it. Guaranteed. No, I'm not sure if you have to pay money or not, but definitely worth the watch.
Why?
Now, it's a World War II, well, about to damn get there.
I don't know,
Hold
dude.
your damn horses, buddy.
You don't always explain it that well.
I'm getting there. So Band of Brothers takes place in World War II. The main character, I wouldn't say, they're all kind of all main characters, but it focuses around, I forget his rank, but his name is, I think, Captain Withers.
So his rank is captain.
Or Winters. No, Winters, not Withers. I think it's Captain. It's been a while. Anyway, Winters, he's in charge. He's the leader, right? He's the leader. And taking place in World War II. At the end of it, and this is based off of actual people, that's like a documentary. So they do reenact. It's like a dramatized show, but they also in the beginning have interviews with the actual people who lived that war. And it's amazing. So in the end, they've won the war. Germans are retreating.
Oh, did we?
I don't know if you know anything about history, but so Winters and his men kind of find this like lavish castle where Hitler or like his really high officers were at, and it had a nice wine cellar. And so Winters gets orders from the higher up that says, hey, I think it's like, go do X, Y, or Z. And whatever X, Y, or Z was, there was risk of danger to his men when the war was over and the Germans were running away. But he was like, okay, if I do that, my men might die or get hurt, and there's no reason for it. And the guy was like, the higher up was like, still do it. Go get it done. And Winters is like, okay. Yeah, no problem, boss. You got it. And he goes tells his men, hey, go down to the wine cellar, enjoy yourself for X amount of hours, and report back to the higher-ups that you didn't find anything. And that's playing the game, because there's no reason to risk the casualties. There's no reason to do X, Y, Z. The war's over. And I refer to playing the game as like, playing human. Back in the day when I felt so disassociated and so detached from anything and everything, I was playing human. I didn't feel like a normal individual. I was watching people interact. I was like, okay, let me do that. And when I do that and I do it well, I get X, Y, and Z and things happen and yada, yada. So that's in part playing the game. And you have to be aware of that. It doesn't necessarily take part in regards to the dartboard per se. I hate that. I don't know why I said per se. I hate people who say per se.
Why?
I didn't say it, folks. You didn't hear it here.
Why do you hate it?
I don't know. It just sounds
obnoxious.
Per se. Sounds like you're trying to be lavish. Anyway, any hoodles. I guess hate's a strong word. If you say per se, nothing against you.
You're still talking
I'm still
about
talking
it.
about it. So the reason why I've mentioned it, and I think that's just a good thing to be aware of, is playing the concept of playing the game.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm going to put a link in the description as well. It's a conversation between Jocko and Jordan Peterson, my two idols. So they explain playing the game probably a little better than what I did right there. Was that good for you, by the way? Does that make sense?
A little bit.
Awesome.
What does that have to relate to the episodes?
Because it was in the episode, so it's a highlight of. It was my highlight.
Oh,
of
you
the
mentioned
episode.
it.
Yeah, like I'd already said. I talked about it.
Oh, you must have done a really bad job if I
Shut
don't
up,
even
I
know.
know. I know. Shut up.
I'm messing with you.
Are you?
No.
Anyway, oh, damn. So the next one is blame yourself for a crappy life, and all that means, don't really hate yourself for like a crappy life, but it just goes in par with accountability. When things are sucky, you can't. My biological father blamed everybody but himself, and that's where he got off, and that's where he was bad and stupid for,
and he didn't grow.
Dumb things happen. Yeah. So once you start blaming others for things, you stop growing, and you just create more chaos, and it's everybody else's fault, and now you're the victim because everything is happening to you, and you have no control because you're the victim. Once you start blame is a tough one, but switch blame with accountable. Once you start taking accountability for your situation, whatever it is, then you can get out of that hole that you've most likely dug or fell into because you weren't looking. And the last one is date yourself. Have you heard of that term, date yourself?
I heard it, treat yourself.
That's not it at all. But yeah, that's cool. Good. So
please explain.
I was going to. Thank you.
I'm gonna leave if
you're so nice. Date yourself. Every time I heard that, I would roll my eyes because it was like something that Valley girls would say. It's like, oh, I'm dating myself right now. But the term is used like when you're single. And, some people use it as an excuse. Like,
get to know yourself.
The joke is, oh, I'm dating myself right now. But, there you can actually you can use it in the term of, yeah, you're getting to know yourself. The biggest thing is with relationships, when they start off with no foundation, we'll just take Tinder, for example. If your relationship is based off of sex or some other piddly thing, then you're losing your identity because you never had it. I never had an identity, to be honest. I had to go find one. I found it in my girlfriends and other relationships.
Which is bad.
Yes, it was. However fun it was bad. So the point there is that you will lose yourself in other people if you don't know who you are. And I think in part the problem with most people, especially in this generation, is with identity
100%.
is because partly the lack of accountability, the lack of awareness of themselves, and they're trying to fight a fight that shouldn't be fought to begin with.
I mean, that's the whole point of the dartboard too.
Exactly.
Like, yeah, you're looking at the relationships, but you're also looking into yourself. Like, okay, what do I want to grow out of this? Or Am I going towards A? And if so, will this person help me? Or, stuff like that.
Yeah, because everything is a mirror into yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Every encounter, every experience, it's just something holding a mirror up to you, and it's just you. You're interacting with, in a sense, yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, dating yourself is a highlight because it's taking time to think about yourself, your needs, your identity,
Your
responsibilities, your friends, where you put your tea, what you're balancing, where your direction's going, what you're doing with your life. Are you or are you not on
The Voyagers
path?
Yeah.
Nice. So that was awesome. Good job.
No problem.
That was it. That's all I had for that.
That's
So
all I have too.
now we're going to go into the closing ceremony.
Mm-hmm.
Not ceremony. That's the wrong. Ceremony is like big scale, huh?
You could say that.
I missed your ceremony for high school.
It's okay. You were in California, weren't you?
Nah, we just didn't make it.
It
Anyway,
happens.
You are going to leave the audience with a message and a song. So please do that.
So, as you know, in these past 3 episodes, not the past 3, the first 3,
the one
we've
we've
been reviewing,
right.
a big common theme is
Ease. Please, yeah, sorry.
making you grow and treating yourself well and, focusing on other things by first handling yourself first, leaving the house clean, full, getting to know yourself, your responsibilities. So my parting message for this episode.
Are you going to die after this?
Maybe. I think
Accidents
there are some
happen.
accidents. Yeah.
Accidents happen. Who
Yeah.
knows? I could be driving one-handed on the highway and drive us home.
Man, you can't let it go, huh?
Sorry.
Anyway, my parting message is just to make sure that you spend every day just looking after yourself. And whether that's, paying attention to the actions you've made today, paying attention to what you eat, pointing out that you could have done something else so you can change in the future, or maybe just some small things like exercising. Because in the long run, that helps out a lot. It's the positive mentality, and it's just positive, on yourself as a whole. And I think one song, which apparently it's not good enough for Tony.
I didn't say it wasn't good
You
enough.
heavily implied it.
When he told me, I laughed because I thought he was joking. But it doesn't mean it's not good enough.
Uh-huh.
I just didn't expect him to come up with that song. That's all.
My parting song is The Lion King's Hakuna Matata. Because
Laugh now. Now you may laugh, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay. Because you don't have to worry about everything, because in the end, you have to pay attention to here and here.
I've never actually. I don't really remember the lyrics. Can you tell me?
It means no worries.
Oh wow.
That's what Hakuna Matata means. If worrying about everything is going to prevent you from focusing on school or focusing on yourself, then, just take it easy. Start off your day with not worrying about anything, and then once you finish eating, finish cleaning yourself, leaving the house, no worries.
About a thing.
Wrong song.
Oh, shoot.
Then you can focus on other things.
Oh.
But that's my parting message. And
I just wanted to add, actually, very good as far as the reason. One thing I would say is it's all about focal point.
Right.
What you're focused on. If you're focused about all the stuff that's bringing you down, all the negative stuff, the lower frequency, if you want to use
have
it as
that
an
victim
example,
mentality.
you're gonna have that's gonna be what you're focused on, and that's all it's gonna be in your head. If you do either one or the other, focus on nothing or focus on the positives, the direction you're going, your life's gonna be significantly
Exactly.
better. So now I'm going to read the outro.
Go for it.
I wish I was Ron Swanson. He's got such a good voice for this stuff. One day I'll have him read it. To future and health, good fortune and wealth. To discipline and sacrifice, to lessons that last for life. To live by honor and for glory, death will come. Be extraordinary. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for watching. Tune in next time on Total Drama World Tour.
Thank you so much, and we'll see you